Welcome to the second segment of Brevard News Focus, and we were left off on our first segment and talking about going from calm to chaos on January 6th, and we're with Michael and Brittany Perkins, and so we left off, and you're on the ground, you're consoling your daughter because there's these tear gas and whatnot is getting to her. How did you end up on the ground, Michael? Do you know?
I really don't even remember what happened. All I remember is spray and pushing. And next thing I know, I'm on the ground and I can't see anything.
So this happened all of a sudden?
Yes. Yes.
And you can see nothing, and then what were you doing at the time that Michael fell?
So I was just looking to kind of taking it all in,
Yeah.
just there were so many people that day. People say it was a couple thousand. No, there was a lot of people. And so I'm a people watcher. I was just looking around, watching people, and that's what I was doing, is taking it all in.
Then the next thing you know, he's on the
Yeah,
ground,
and
and it's just all of a sudden just.
Yes, I didn't know what was going on. Yeah.
Now you did say also now that you saw people getting off buses
Yes.
with Trump gear on, and the thing that struck you that you didn't resonate with you at the time was that they had gas masks on.
Some of them, yeah.
Okay, but did this happen before the chaos started, or
It was just after the chaos started.
so just after the chaos, you saw these people getting off of buses? Now, Higgins, the congressman from Louisiana, has said, and has entered into the record in a conversation with FBI Director Wray, that they have evidence that this was the fact. That there were buses of people that were driven into the Capitol for the purpose of causing chaos.
Yes.
But let's get back to your situation. So what happens after you find out he's on the ground, you're trying to console your daughter?
So, like I said, I took my daughter to a stairwell. They had some scaffolding and things like that they had set up that was temporarily there for the inauguration, and there was some stairs towards Garfield Circle, so away from the Capitol. I took her and a friend that was with us, another young girl that was there, her friend. And I took her, and I was trying to get her to be able to breathe, because you couldn't breathe. Kind of like, I don't know if you've ever experienced any gas like that, but it restricts your airway. You were gasping for air. And so once I got her calmed down, there was a gentleman there, and he had two little girls with him. They were probably 7 and 8. They were sitting there as well. And I asked the gentleman, I said, "Do you mind watching over my daughter while I go?" Because we had other minors with us even, And
So there were a lot of kids within this melee that was going on.
Yes.
Yeah, people had their little families there. Like, there were little kids there.
Wow.
And so
What would you estimate the population of the kids that were there on that day?
I don't know, because I don't even know the population. 500,000 people or more were
But
there
you would
that
say,
day.
what would be a percentage if you had to guess of how many kids were there?
Maybe 10% of what was there.
So
was
there were
probably
quite a few kids
there.
there.
Kids, yes, young
Okay.
kids, adults, young adults.
Okay.
But I went back to look for everyone. Like I said, there were so many people. He left his phone at home with our 18-year-old son. He had, thank God he didn't go that day. But he left his phone at home for him, because I'd never left him home before, out of state. And so I had no way to contact him to find out where he was, what was going on. And so that's what happened. We were separated.
So how did you make it back over to him when he was on the ground?
So I never found him.
So from that point, you
From
guys
that
were separated.
point, we were separated until probably about 5 o'clock, when Trump had made the announcement that everyone needs to go home because, National Guard is coming.
How did you find each other again?
So people started clearing out, and I was kind of standing where there's a wall so that he could see me, so that we could, look around. And once
You
it
seen
started,
me up top.
then I seen him. It started clearing out. And that's when we were able to find each other.
What was the state of your daughter at this time?
So she was just, she cried most of the day. She was just ready to go home. And like I said, we were separated. We didn't have our own vehicle. We had rented 2 vans. And so there was no leaving. And I was scared to leave and walk all the way back. It was a 45-minute walk back to the vans. And I was scared to go, 3 girls. I had 2 young girls with me. I was scared to go by myself and walk back to a van. So we were just there, waiting till we could find somebody that was with us.
So in the meanwhile, you're on the ground, you get up off the ground, somebody hit you, and you don't know, did you know who hit you?
I know it was an officer.
So why
Because
did he
they
hit you?
I have no idea. I believe that was whenever, right during all the chaos, an officer winded up at my feet. And I extend my hand out to try to help, which we find out later it's a female officer.
And this was introduced into evidence in
Yes,
court, right?
in court.
Okay.
She pushes my hand out of the way, not wanting my help. And I guess another officer seen that and had come up toward me. And I believe that's, you can't see it on the video.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if, God forbid, but the government may have cropped it out because you can never see it. You can never see the officer strike me. It's not on video nowhere.
But somebody
But
did.
there's clear
and
evidence. We have clear evidence afterwards of my eye swollen. And then, so I'm hit, and that's the instant that they say, right after that, I pick up the flagpole, and that same officer that helped her up, I believe, was the one that rushed at me because I was picking up a flag. Maybe he thought I was going, I have no idea what he was thinking.
So he thought you were going to use that as a weapon?
I assume that's what he was thinking as he came at me, and then it ran into him. The end of the flagpole touched him.
Did you run into him, or he ran into this flagpole?
He came into me.
And-
I did
and
not move. I was
that's on tape.
stationary. Yes, that is on tape.
And you were convicted for how many years?
For 4 years.
For 4 years because of that incident.
Yes. For assault on an officer.
That's what was called an assault on an officer.
With a deadly weapon.
Yes.
The flag.
Yes, the American flag. The American flag can be a dangerous thing.
Well, depending on your perspective. So, when you got to trial, that was what they showed as evidence to convict you for 4 years.
Yes.
He never made eye contact with this officer. You see him looking off to the left. He never sees the officer come, ever. And I don't believe it was even the pole that hit him, because the body worn camera, you see the flag.
The flag.
whipping.
You never see the pole touch it.
You never
see
see
the
it.
flag.
And the media has said he's thrust it, he's beat him over the head. I mean, they've said these things.
About
And that's-
Mike.
And then that's
Yes.
never on video. Never
Yes.
once. No.
In one instance, you see after that situation, I'm trying to get away from the chaos.
Right.
And I did swing at a downward motion.
Yes.
And that was seen as assault.
I believe they use that as the intent. Like I intended to hit an officer.
So when you guys left that day, what were you thinking? What did you think happened? Did you ask yourself, what did we just see?
I felt like I was attacked and set up by my government.
You thought that on that
yes.
day? Even
Yes.
before you heard any news reports or anything?
Yes.
Just what you saw
Yes.
on that day on the west side of the Capitol?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What did you think, Brittany?
Initially, I didn't think that. Initially, I was like, what happened? But as I stood there that day and I watched guys with gas masks running, pushing people into cops. I watched people have this milky looking solution that they were cleaning out people's eyes that had been pepper sprayed, and they were encouraging them to go back to the cops. Go back, this is our house. They were saying these type of things to people.
People in Trump gear?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm thinking something's not right. This isn't right. These people are not. They did not come from the ellipse with us. This is not right.
It's a totally different mindset from what you saw going over to the Capitol where everyone
Yes.
was in harmony and singing. This was a totally different group.
Yes.
And so you were charged with that, and before they came and you go back home, you come back to Florida, how long was it before the incident occurred where, before we leave that, you had said that you didn't think that the Capitol Police, some of them understood what was going on.
Correct.
It appeared to you that maybe a few of them were in on it, but most of them you didn't think they understood what was going
No,
on.
they
They
were
probably
innocent.
were in the dark about what was going on themselves.
And see, those infiltrators that I believe came there, maybe they still think they're Trump supporters, but they were not. They were not us. They were paid, I believe, paid to do what they did.
By whomever.
By whomever.
But they weren't They
Yes.
weren't like the rest of the people that were at the ellipse.
So I understand their frustrations and them believing and thinking that these people are, violent and these Trump people did this. I understand that, but that's not what we witnessed that day.
Trump called for 10,000. He said, if need be, bring more National Guard.
Which we know now didn't happen.
Why did that never happen?
Pelosi.
Nancy Pelosi had that report. And
well, there's evidence now on video where she admits that was her responsibility.
Yes.
So when you guys got back, so you didn't hear from the cops for how long, or the law enforcement for how long?
May was whenever we.
So this happened in January.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't hear anything. You go to prayer service one night.
Mm-hmm.
You leave prayer service, and you notice, Brittany,
On
you
the
were
way.
asleep, right?
On
Yes.
the way to prayer service.
Oh, it was on the way to prayer service?
Yes.
So now you're tired. You've been working.
Yes, sir.
Brittany's watching in the rearview mirror, and what happens?
So there's a church near our house. I passed, and I didn't have my seatbelt on. Shame on me. But I hurried up and put my seatbelt on. I seen this undercover cop, and he got behind me. And so I was a little bit paranoid, thinking he was going to pull me over. So that's what made me start watching him. And we have to get on I-4, and it's about a 25-minute drive on interstate. And so the fact that he was behind me that whole time from my house, it was suspicious. I noticed that he was following me, and I woke my husband up when we got off interstate, and I said, I think somebody's following us. And he's like, who would be following us? I'm like, the cops, the FBI, somebody's following us. And so I told him what was going on, how they were, one car would get behind me when I turned, and another car, they were doing their little following stuff. And,
Well, because we had been hearing reports of
yeah.
what the FBI had been doing to people that were there on January
Yeah.
6th.
So you knew that
I
they were.
just-
Stalking them.
I never thought I would have been one of them, though, because I didn't never think I
You
did
didn't see
nothing
yourself in
wrong.
it.
Yes.
So when you saw this, you began to wonder.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We knew something was going on.
Yeah.
So they followed you to church,
Mm-hmm.
and when you left church, they followed you again.
Well, no.
No.
Whenever we kind of went down a couple different streets, odd streets, just to verify. Okay, yes, we are being followed.
Make sure we're not paranoid.
Mhm.
Yes, and then I'm like, okay, yes, they are following us. We are being followed. So when we got to our church, I asked my wife and daughter and son to get out of the car. And I'm like, I want to go back out with a friend of mine following me to see if they continue to follow me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we do. We go out, I go alone in her vehicle, and I go down the street and nobody's following me. I'm like, okay, maybe they're gone. But as I get down the street, there's a dog park, and as I pull around the corner, I see men in suits and ties, about 10 of them standing in a circle talking. And I put down my window and I look at them as one of them made direct eye contact with me. And as soon as he seen me, he whispered something and they all dispersed and went to their vehicles. At that point, we had went back to the church, and I thought they were going to come and arrest me.
They didn't.
But nobody ever
It took 5 weweeks.
nobody ever come and talked to us or nothing after that. So I was very suspicious.
Were you guys rattled by this?
I watched Cops before, and so I'm envisioning kicking my front door in, guns. I'm like, I don't want to deal with this. And we had heard reports of other people that had been there. They were doing some pretty violent things when they were arresting people. And my daughter was 14 at the time. She was scared. She was still dealing with stuff from the Capitol. She just had a lot of anxiety, and she's in the front of the house, and so she's like, they're gonna come to my room, I'm gonna be scared. So we slept on the couch for like 5 weeks. We're like, either you sleep with us or
So you're anticipating
so
that
we
this
were
is going to happen.
anticipating this was gonna happen, and so we slept on the couch for about 5 weeks, and finally I was like, what's happening? I'm like,
Did
what?
you notice that they were following you in the
No.
5 weeks?
No.
So you didn't see anything?
No, and so I felt like they were kind of playing games with us, maybe.
I thought they were just going to come knock on the door, though, and talk to us. I didn't think
we
they
weren't.
You know, well, we could settle this. This is not
Well,
that
we
big of a
didn't
deal,
know.
right?
It was far more more than what I thought it was going to be, for sure.
But it was worse than that, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
you described that when they actually came to the house, this was like they were coming to arrest a drug kingpin.
Terrorist. Yeah.
Now,
So-
during
What
that waiting
happened?
period, though, she had made a report. She called the state attorney's office, and she made a report. She said, "We were there on January 6th, and we are pretty sure that we're being followed and watched by the FBI. If somebody could please come talk to us, because we don't like what's going on here. We feel like that we're just being watched."
You tried to be a little bit more proactive.
Yes.
I just
And
wanted
when-
it to be over with. Whatever's
Right.
going to happen, can we get to the bottom of it? My daughter's fearful, that.
How far in advance of the actual arrest did that occur?
So that was like the week of. It was a couple
Okay.
days later the raid happened.
So it's 5 o'clock or so in the morning. So just so that people can understand how horrific this was, tell me the details of some of the things that you remember from that morning.
So, once they had called us all out and my husband came out, I found out from my neighbor that they had came about 2 o'clock in the morning. She has a chime on her driveway, so if anyone drives past, it goes off. About 2 o'clock in the morning, she heard her gate alarm go off, and she got up to see what was going on. And she went on her pool deck, and someone told her to get back in her house. And she realized then that it was law enforcement, and they were kind of talking through the gate at her. And so she thought maybe someone had been running. We live in a rural area. There's strawberry fields. She thought maybe someone had, been running from the cops and they were looking for someone. She just thought that was what was going on. But she noticed that her dog didn't wake up and didn't bark. And so fast forward, here comes the raid, 5:45 in the morning. They call us all out on the loudspeaker. They handcuffed my kids and had guns on us. They called my husband out. They detain him and take him somewhere, get him away from us. So I didn't see him.
So they
after that.
separated him from you on the property.
Yes.
Well, what they did was, real quick, they put me in the car, and there was 2 agents, one driving and one sat in the back with me. And they're like, "Well, let's get away from this chaotic scene here and get you somewhere more comfortable." I'm like, "No, what? I'm not comfortable anywhere with you guys. For one, look what you just did to me, for no reason. When you could have came and knocked on my door or gave me a call, and I would have met you anywhere you wanted, and we could have talked." So, and then they drive me down the street, and they turn on their little recordings, and they tried to get me to talk. I said I had the right to remain silent. You guys, what you guys just did to me, you're not my friend. You're not here to help me, or you would have called me. At that point, they stopped all recordings and brought me back and put me in with the federal marshals and brought me away.
But at this time, while all this is happening, they were concerned about my dog. They had driven through our back property, busted our gate. My dog had ran off. They had me handcuffed, and I was asking them, my daughter's crying, I'm asking them, what's going on? Tell me what's going on. I was trying to calm my daughter down. There was a female Miami SWAT. She was laughing, kind of snickering in the background about it. And that upset me. I felt like, that was just desensitized, why to see a family like this and, to do people like this, that upset me. They had me handcuffed still, and I asked, what was going on, and they wanted me to walk the back property to get my dog, so they unhandcuffed me, and I'm still in my nightgown at this time, no shoes.
Why did they want you to walk to get your dog?
They were scared of my dog, so they're in full
What
tactic.
kind of dog was it?
She's just a hound dog. She's a big baby. She was only 5 or 6 months old at the time. She was a baby, but they were concerned about her attacking someone, so they unhandcuffed me and let me walk to the backyard to try to get my dog. My neighbor thought we were being killed because she thought it was gunfire, so she was listening at her front door to make sure we were okay. She said there were 2 agents or FBI SWAT arguing over who cleared my chicken coop. So here you have these big, tough, dressed up, ready for war type but they're scared to go clear my chicken coop. So I thought that
Scared
was
of the chickens?
yes, they were scared. They were scared to go in there, but they had to clear, the property before the actual FBI agents could come on the scene. So they had to go through our sheds. They had to go through the house. They took that big tank and drove it up to the front of the porch, and the battering arm on it went through the door, and it threw a flashbang grenade in there, burned up when you walk in my front door, there's a big burn where it caught my carpet on fire. They allowed my daughter and I after that. Well, they sent in a robot too. It was like a remote control type car looking robot. It's very weird. It went in, it cleared the house, made sure there was nobody hiding, I guess, no bombs. They were asking me about booby traps, and
There was drones all in
there were
there.
drones being flown in to check, make sure we're not got booby traps, I guess. People do that these days. I don't know.
Did this seem like overkill?
Yes. Especially when you pull up to my house and I have a 7-foot cross in the front yard lit up. I mean, and they watched us for 4 months. They knew what kind of people we were. We went to work in church. That's it. We served in our community. We went to homeless shelters and fed the homeless. He preached, They knew what kind of people we were. So it felt like it was for show, to show our neighbors this is what happens when you want to stand for something, and that's what I felt like. It was overkill for sure. And so they cleared our property.
Now, at one point, they checked your security cameras, right?
Yes.
That was interesting.
So before the FBI actually comes on scene, we had cameras on 3 sides of the house, and they are seen on camera with a claw type hammer, and they beat the cameras off the house. And the last image that, as my camera's falling, you see this guy with his claw hammer, and then you see my cross in the background, where they just, it's just crazy
And
to
to
me.
this day, we have holes in our siding
Yeah.
where they swung at the camera so many times. I guess they were
Missed.
missing the cameras.
Yeah.
So I got claw hammer holes in the side of my siding right now.
So they left your house in a mess.
Yeah, they didn't put the fence back on. We have like a cattle gate. They didn't put that back on. No. And so after all this happens, they send in their guys to clear the house and all this stuff. They allowed my daughter and I to go in and get dressed. They take me in. She's standing there watching us change. My daughter's in her room changing. I'm in my bathroom. And she's telling me, she's like, brush your teeth, take your time, brush your hair. And I'm like, wow, okay. So I'm doing all the things, to get ready. And meanwhile, they take my 14-year-old daughter and they're like, no, just put on a shirt and shoes, get outside. And so they were rushing her out the front door. And when I came out the front door, there were 2 female agents, and they had an envelope, like a file folder type, and they had it opened. And I came out the door, and they're talking to my daughter. I came out the door, and I said, excuse me, what are you doing? And they said, we're sorry, ma'am, we're sorry. And they disappeared. And when I asked my daughter what was going on, she said they had pictures of her at the Capitol that day. I don't know where they got these pictures, but she was in the crowd, and it was pictures of her, and they were threatening her. They were telling her that she needed to tell who she was with, how she got there, or she was going to be in trouble. And she's 14. And so I could not find the names of those women. And like I said, it was like they disappeared. They just were gone. But that's why I believe they tore our cameras off the house. They were going to do things that were unconstitutional and that were illegal. And they didn't want there to be any evidence of those things occurring.
Did you have video evidence of the things that happened up to the point that they tore it down?
Yes. So you
still have that evidence?
Yes. You can see when they first arrive, how they're driving through the property. You can see the flashbang, shrapnel type stuff in the air. You can tell something's going on there. You can see them sending the robot in. You can see them with all their ARs going up my stairs into the house. And then you see them come out. They're spotlighting our cameras to tell where they are. And then you see someone going, getting the claw hammer, and they're beating them off the wall. So that's what we have. They said they did that because the agents weren't allowed to be on camera, but I don't believe that. I believe they were going to do things they shouldn't be doing. That's why they did that.
So they take you guys where?
So after I caught them talking to my daughter, I was looking for my son, and there were 2 male agents that had my son cornered, and now he's 18 at this time. He's still in his underwear, and I seen him with 2 agents, and they're over there grilling him. And I yelled across the yard, I said, "Son, tell him you want a lawyer." And my son said, I want a lawyer. And they started cussing me. They were very upset. And they were saying that he wasn't a child anymore. He's an adult. He doesn't need his mom to make decisions for him. Just attacking me because I was tired of them harassing my son. He's still naked. We're allowed to get dressed. You've got my 18-year-old child out here. I was upset. And so as soon as he told them, I want a lawyer, they had to leave him alone. They told him, though, they said, "We want you to know if we find out that your debit card or your cell phone pinged in DC, we're coming back for you." And they knew he wasn't there that day. They were just doing intimidation tactics on him. They knew. And so when that happened, I took my kids and got them out of there. I took them down to Michael's uncle that lives on at the front of the property. I took my kids down to his house because I didn't want them messing
Subject
with my
to
kids.
that.
Yes. And then I came back to the house, asked for the warrant. I wanted to see a warrant and what they were looking for. And really, the only thing they were looking for was his phone. They took a pair of tennis shoes and a jacket that he wore that day. That was evidence of an insurrection. So it was ridiculous.
It's hard to believe that, and you what?
My phone wasn't even there that day.
Yeah,
with
they
me
took his
on
phone.
January 6th. I didn't even have a phone. I left it with my son.
Did you ever get it back?
No,
No.
they still have everything.
Yeah, they took a nice Nikon camera I did photos with, family photos.
And the electronics they took.
Yeah.
And we still haven't got them back.
Did it ever occur to you that this is hard to believe that this is happening in America?
Yeah. I almost took my American flag off my porch. We felt betrayed by our country. That this could happen, that the American people could go along with this narrative and, they want to say, like, don't trust your government when it's convenient for them, But when we're trying to say, listen, our government did some nefarious things. They've set the American people up. They don't want to believe it, And it happened. And it was very disheartening. It took a lot for me to walk out every day and see my American flag on my porch and see the state that our country was in. It was very discouraging. Very discouraging. Yeah.
So they come to your house. It's in the middle of the night.
5:45 a.m.
You hear a flashbang.
So
I believe it was multiple percussion grenades all around our house.
I thought it was a tornado.
Yes.
It was so many, like, bang, 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 bang.
Simultaneously.
Yeah. We had
You were asleep.
Yes.
Where was your daughter at?
so she was in her bed. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what happened?
So I heard the flashbangs and I thought it was maybe a tornado. We had a storm the night before. It kind of sounded like thunder, lightning cracking. And I didn't think they arrested people like that. So that was the furthest thing from my mind. But I ran through, and as soon as I got to the kitchen, I saw red and blue lights on the ceiling. So I knew what was going on. I immediately went to the front door because I was just like, make it stop. They were screaming at us on a loudspeaker.
How many people were there, you estimate?
50 or more. I mean, it was a lot of people. 4 armored tank trucks, with the hole on top where they come out of the top, and they have like a battering ram on them, and yeah, they were up in that top of that thing screaming at us from a loudspeaker. Yeah, it was crazy.
And as soon as they were already outside, but I walk out and
They had lasers on us.
each one of
My
us, as we
kids.
walk out, you have a laser. I mean, probably 20 lasers all on you.
Yeah.
If you would have acted
They
in any
would've-
way, they would have taken you out with no problem.
Yes.
Yes.
And my uncle, he's in the military, and he said this is something they do to terrorists in other countries.
Yeah.
With the percussion grenades and everything, what it does is while you're sleeping, it disorients you.
Right.
Yeah, so you come out, don't know what's happening,
Right.
and I mean, God forbid I would have came out with
So
a
you
got
have
trying to
bright
protect
lights?
my family.
Yeah,
You have
couldn't
bright lights
see.
shining at you. Do you think that was expected? Because I mean, you don't know. The first inclination is to protect your home, right?
Yes.
I believe it was the Lord getting me to the door first.
Yes, because if I would have got there,
You think you would have gone armed?
I may have.
Possibly.
Yeah. And you probably wouldn't be sitting here in
Yes.
this conversation.
Yes, and I think they wanted that, which is they were hoping for that. It would have spun the narrative even.
Yeah, look
more.
at their headline. I mean,
Yeah.
January 6th that allegedly beat cops comes out and tries to shoot at the FBI.
They wanted that. I believe that's why they did so many families like they did ours.
Spotlights were on the house.
Mm-hmm.
So when you come out, you're just completely blinded. You don't know where
It
you
was
are.
Yes.
foggy from the smoke grenades they were throwing, and it was spotlights, so you couldn't see them, because they were blinding you. And it looked like a war zone. It looked like it was unbelievable.
Yeah,
Was
but
it-
you see the war movies, that's what you envision, where you can't even see, all you see is lights on you and smoke.
Did it seem surreal?
Yes.
Your
Yeah.
daughter, what was going on with her?
So she was crying. She was very upset. My kids were half naked, handcuffed in the yard, cold.
So they brought your kids out and handcuffed them
Yes,
as well?
yes.
So the whole family was handcuffed?
Yes. And there was a female there that thought it was funny. She was laughing in the background.
Laughing?
I was begging the man, because my husband came out last, and I was begging him, please don't do anything stupid, please. My kids are out here. I thought they were going to shoot him when he come out the door, and my kids would have to see their father shot and killed. And I was begging him, and she was over there laughing like it was just.
This is an officer or?
She was Miami SWAT, FBI.
Yes, most of the SWAT that came to our house were all Miami
Yes.
FBI SWAT. Along with Homeland Security, the Sheriff's Office.
Yeah, we had 2 liaisons there from our local sheriff's department.
So when did you go to prison? So they arrest you, you go, you have trial and the trial lasted where? It was where?
The trial was in D.C.
And that was before that he was on 18 months of house arrest before the trial ever took place. So he's basically being punished for something that he's not even been to trial yet over,
Well, initially that day I got arrested, and the next morning they had a court in Tampa. And all of my co-defendants, you could see at the same time I was arrested and raided like that, my co-defendants' houses were raided as well at the same time.
In the same way?
Yes, the same way.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break here. This is a little bit too much for me. I mean, this is unbelievable that this could happen in the United States of America. And I don't know what you think about January 6th, but some of the things that happened here seem to be so unconstitutional. And we'll continue with this conversation in the next segment. Join us in our third segment where we'll talk about the human toll and the court case and how that developed in segment 3.